Yeah.
He actually
So
said
cool.
to us, he was like, so when are you two getting married?
And we were like,
I was like,
It's too awkward. You can't ask that yet.
oh
I was
no.
like, sir, we just met.
Oh no, you just ruined it.
Hi, I'm Emily.
And I am Damien.
Leading a life of faith in a secular world can be really difficult, but here we run the race together.
On this channel, you will be inspired, you will be challenged, and you will rejoice in discerning who God meant you to be.
Growing in holiness a little every day, so we can all become saints.
As Saint Catherine of Siena said, be who God meant you to be, and you will set the world on fire.
Are you ready to be a spark? In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thank you for this glorious day. Thank you for bringing us here together in your presence. I pray that, Holy Spirit, you may speak through us, that you may open our hearts to hear what we need to hear and to receive what we need to receive. I ask this in your name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hi, I'm Emily, and this is
Mr. and Mrs. Joe Carrozza.
Carrozza. Woo! Okay, so you two are married, but recently. So how long have you been married?
A little more than 4 months now.
Okay, wild. So tell us a little bit. So, all right, so how do we know each other? Why do we know each other?
We're all parishioners here at St. John Cantius.
Yeah, okay.
And,
Wild.
yeah. Yeah. I think, and we had seen you at the Institute of Christ the King.
Yes, yeah.
Before they
Before no
down.
mass, yeah.
Yeah.
No mass.
No mass, no mass. So sad.
Yeah. So, okay, but you didn't always go to Cantius. So, all right, so
No.
quickly tell us individually, what's your story? Were you always faithful? Were you always Catholic? Who are you?
Why don't you go first?
I grew up in a very faithful home, but like a lot of youngsters, I fell away from the faith in my late teens and early 20s. And I even went so far at one point to say that I thought I was atheist. So I really strayed from the faith. I think it was still in my heart somewhere, but I couldn't reconcile the way that I was living with what I knew to be true.
Mm.
And it really took me to hit a point in my life where I was at rock bottom, very alone, or very lonely at least. I thought I was alone. And really like facing the music to be like, oh, this is not what my life should be. This is not what God had planned for me. And from that point on, it was a promise that every day I would take that road to recovery. I would take steps to get back to God, get back to the life that he had for me. And so I've been on that journey for a while now. And I just moved to Chicago about 2 years ago. And that's where Joe entered the story.
Yeah, I guess. So just to back up a little bit and tell my story, from the beginning, I was born and raised Catholic, a wonderful God-fearing family, and I went to a public high school. I think that's when some of the cracks started to form in the foundation. I went off to a public college. I was away on my own, and that's when, a lot of the cracks really started to develop and a lot of the rot set in. So I definitely fell away from the church in my 20s. Very much like felt like there was something missing, I think like most people. And where was I going to look for that thing that was missing? I was going to look in the modern world, right? And I was looking in all the wrong places. I definitely did try to come back to the church a couple of times, and it was through kind of like a typical suburban mass experience, and I didn't really feel it. I didn't feel it. That wasn't providing me what I was looking for. So, I kind of went back into the world looking for what was missing. It wasn't very similar to what Maggie was saying. I definitely fell away, hit a level of rock bottom that I felt was rock bottom. And it was about 2.5 years ago that I found St. John Cantius, and that's when I really, really came back into the fold completely. And I knew it was going to be a battle to get myself out of the hole that I'd found myself in, but I devoted myself 100% to doing so. And yeah, that's where we kind of found ourselves back again here at Cantius, and Maggie and I eventually kind of found each other. So maybe, yeah.
I think that's amazing. The more I talk to people, if you like fall away from the church, you need to hit some level of low to come back. And I think that, both of you touched upon, I think, a really important lie that the devil puts in, is that we are alone.
Yes.
Right? That like, okay, maybe we feel lonely because we're looking to fill ourselves in that
Yes.
wrong way.
Yes.
But we're not alone. We're not alone. Reject it.
Yeah.
So the two of you met each other. So can you talk about how you kind of found each other, and like what was that like initial courtship continuing on?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I moved to the area, and I was working in Park Ridge, a northwest suburb, and right across the street from my office was St. Paul of the Cross. And so I'm new to town. I don't know anyone really, and so I'm like, okay, I've done this before. I've started over in a new place, so I'm like, I'm gonna stick to work, church, in the gym, and I'm gonna meet people along the way that are hopefully gonna give life-giving substance to my life. So I started going to mass before work during the week, and I would see Joe.
And I guess just to lead into that, I was going to daily mass because I was doing Exodus 90. And part of Exodus 90 was you were to be doing at least an hour of daily prayer. So I started getting in the habit of going to daily mass at St. Paul of the Cross, which was right down the street, two blocks away from where I live in Park Ridge. So that's kind of where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we talk about this now, that God had those periods of our lives align perfectly, because if I had moved any later or earlier, we probably would have missed each other. And it's, but it was perfect timing. I would go to mass, I'd sit way in the back, because then I'd run out the back door to go to work, and I would see Joe come in and sit right up front, and I would say to myself, who's that guy, that Mr. Front Row up there? And I would think, like, he's probably spoken for, so then that's not why I'm here, so I would just like focus on my prayers and go to work. So we never spoke to each other.
Yes, similar story. So I would see Maggie coming up from the back of the church to receive communion at the communion rail, which was in use at the time at St. Paul of the Cross, which was a really beautiful thing, which also led to us, I think, coming together in a very special way. So I would see Maggie coming up from the back of church, and same thing. Oh, here's some cute young lady that's at mass in the morning. She's got to be, married, or something's going on here. There's no way that she's single. So fast forward maybe a month or two, we both run into each other at the Mass of the Ages premiere, which was at the Pickwick Theater. So I was helping out. I was kind of helping to coordinate and be an usher that day at the event. And I saw Maggie talking to one of my buddy's wives. I was like, oh, here we go. Here's the perfect opportunity to go say hi. So I went over and I'm like, hey, Gabby, how's it going? Who are you? I see you at Mass every day. And that was really the first time we said hi to each other.
Yeah, and it was just a quick interaction. And then that very weekend, I had no idea, but that very weekend, we would both end up at the Walk to Mary in Green Bay in the same group of pilgrims. And so it was kind of like, okay, this is undeniable. What? I remember walking into the Airbnb that a gal I'd met through some Opus Dei events, and we'd only met each other a couple of times, and she was like, hey, are you going to the Walk to Mary? I've got this group of people coming up, and we're staying at this Airbnb. We're going to cook out and do yard games. I was like, that's perfect. I walked into this Airbnb, and the first person I saw was Mr. Front Row, and I just remember feeling like, what? what are you doing here?
Yeah, it was, it definitely felt like divine providence.
Yeah.
And that entire weekend, we got to know each other better. We walked together
Mm-hmm.
for part of the way on the walk to Mary, which is a 21-mile pilgrimage from St. Norbert's in De Pere, Wisconsin, to the shrine of Our Lady of Champion, Wisconsin. So that was a really wonderful time. We got to walk together for about 9 miles,
Yeah.
talking.
Good time to talk, yeah.
Yeah.
Getting to know each other better.
And chit-chatting with other people, and you just kind of like see someone in a really free state, talking with who they want to talk with, doing what they want to do. And I'll never forget, I got to the shrine a little bit earlier than your group, and I was so tired because I had volunteered that day too, so I got up at like 5 a.m. to get there really early. So when I got to the shrine, I found a nice sunny spot there to just take a little nap on a bench. And I woke up and I was like in that like sleepy stupor, and it was sunny and there were kids laughing and playing. It felt like heaven. And when I got up, I started walking towards where they have mass, and I saw a man walking towards me, and I was like, I think that's Joe. And I just remember like having this big sleepy goofy grin on my face. And I was just so happy to see you, and I was like, there's a great spot to nap over there, and you were like, cool, I'm gonna go check it out.
I went and found the spot that she napped, and I'm like, I'm gonna go take a nap. She's got it all warmed up for me. Perfect. Yeah, so that was really the beginning of everything. We hung out the rest of the weekend together, and I remember saying, all right, I'll see you at Mass on Monday. I know where you go to Mass.
Yeah.
It's the same place I'm going every morning. So went to Mass, and I sat up in the front row. Maggie sat in the back, and I was like, okay, surely Maggie's gonna come up after Mass, and we'll chat a little bit and catch up. Mass ends, I turn around, she's gone. She bolted out the back door and went across the street to go to work.
Because I was thinking, surely he's going to come talk to me after Mass. But I remember going up for communion and like kind of like making like a little like nod to you. And you were so stoic. And I was like, oh, he's not interested. I was like, maybe I read this wrong. And so I was like really nervous. I was like, you know what? He knows where to find me if he wants to talk.
Oh my gosh, too funny. Yeah, so anyways, I think I had your phone number because there was a group chat.
Yeah, with the pilgrims.
And I sent her a text and said, hey, I don't know, I guess you ran out of church after Mass today. It'd be great to grab coffee with you someday soon. And we grabbed coffee a couple days later, and that was it. It was off to the races from there.
Yeah.
So during your dating and courtship, what were some of the like, wow, this was really great, like the highlights, but then also maybe some of the challenges in discerning, like, is this the person for me?
Yeah. Why don't you maybe talk to some of the things you saw in me that...
Well, I know we talked about this a little bit last night. Things that I knew I was looking for in a man.
So you came in knowing what you wanted?
Yes. I mean, I was 33. I'm 34 now, right? Yeah. And so you've got a lot of life experience, and I've dated before, and each experience that you have really helps define even more like finite what you're looking for. And I remember thinking in the past, going, is this unrealistic to have like these things that I'm aiming for with someone? Is that setting something? Is it setting myself up for failure by having these like standards? But I had to switch my thinking eventually to say, what that becomes then is a beacon of light for the right person. It's supposed to be restrictive, because for the right person, they go, oh, I see you. You're my lighthouse in the darkness. Like, you're doing the same thing that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So with Joe, everywhere we went, people knew him. So for a new girl in town to know that it was sort of a cross reference. Like, he's involved in Knights of Columbus. He's involved in Exodus 90. He's involved in his church as an usher. Like, all of these things kind of confirmed that he's a man who likes to give back, which is huge for me. A man who seeks out mentorship from other men, which is really important.
Why do you think that's important?
It's dangerous to fly blind. And as a woman looking to partner with someone for the rest of your life who is going to be leading your family, you don't want someone who's just going to walk off a cliff and take you with them. So to have that counsel from other people that you listen to, like, not just, I mean, sometimes people can listen to people's advice and do their own thing anyway, but Joe seeks advice from trusted individuals, and that impressed me. He took his faith life seriously, and I knew that he was kind of newer back to the faith. And I remember telling you once that to me, it didn't matter how long someone had been walking the path. What mattered to me was how earnestly someone was walking the path. And to see you go to confession and want to pray with me and want to do all these activities where we were surrounded by our faith group, that was huge. Someone who loves his family. He's got a great family, and he honors them, loves them, loves his mom, loves his dad. You know, so like these were all things that for me, I was like, okay, I can trust this. I can trust this individual. Nobody's perfect, but I could see who you were. And there was something that was really familiar about you. Like, I think when you have similar wounds too, like we'd kind of experienced similar things, like you can kind of see in someone, like where you can help heal each other. And I felt comfortable with him from the get-go.
I don't know how to follow that up. I should have went first. What was I thinking? No, that was really beautiful. And to echo what Maggie said at the end there, when it really was off to the races right away. It was like I found my soulmate. I mean, what did I call you, my girlfriend? Like after a week and a half, 2 weeks in, I think I'm like, this is my girlfriend. We were out to dinner. I took a picture of her, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm taking a picture of you so I could send it to my buddy and show him what my new girlfriend looks like."
And I was like,
she's like, "New girlfriend?" I was like, "Yeah, I like the ring of that. What do you think?" Like, yeah, I like that too. So it really was off to the races right away. But as far as what I was looking for, like Maggie said, we were talking about this last evening. I had said that I'm going to find a woman, a good, virtuous woman, to be my wife and to be the mother of my children. I'm going to find her at church. I'm going to find her in church. I don't know what she's going to look like, but I know that she's going to embody those virtuous principles that I know I want a mother and wife to have. And, you know, I remember meeting Maggie, obviously, at the Walk to Mary. I didn't know what relevant radio was. I was like, oh, that's the Catholic radio station across the street from St. Paul of the Cross. I didn't know it was some like big national or international, I guess you could say, radio station that, when people are like, oh, Maggie works for Drew Mariani. Like, and this is like after we're already dating. This isn't like, affecting my decision to want to date Maggie. But I started, the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place, how active Maggie was as well, and how important her faith was to her, and how she really was embodying all of these things that I wanted my wife to embody. And similar to what Maggie said, I mean, I was 34 at the time, and I'm 35 now. Been around on God's green earth for quite a while. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I got a pretty good read of what somebody's like. And I knew Maggie was a good person. And we we really seemed like we were on the same page about all of the important things at the very least. And Maggie was the kind of person that she could say like, Joe, no. And whereas in the past I would be like, oh, if somebody tells me no, I'm gonna want to do that thing even more. But
You actually thanked me a couple of times.
yeah, no, absolutely. She would give me some advice, and I would really kind of realize and think about, okay, if it's coming from Maggie, if it's coming from a good person, if it's coming from a place of goodness, let me like actually pay this some heed. And I did, and that was another one of those things kind of making me realize, okay, maybe I'm finally finding my match here.
Yeah.
So
Bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I'll listen.
Exactly.
something else we were talking about just the other day as well is I've told Maggie this so many times throughout our relationship, but it's like you're the only person I can spend as much time with as I do. There's nobody else, family member, friend, that I could spend every minute of every day together with and still be fine. Obviously, occasionally you want to get away and
Right.
maybe do your own thing for a short period of time, but at the end of the day, it's like that's true love and true friendship when you can be that comfortable,
Yeah.
cleaving together and being one.
We say going to bed is like just having a sleepover with your best friend. And those pictures of otters who like sleep holding their hands, that's frequently how we are in the evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's amazing because I hear in both of you, you had this deep faith and hope, and you
Yes.
allowed your yes to be free by having a firm no.
Yeah.
for certain things.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true. And part of that is, especially as an adult, honoring. I think chastity is huge, and we've talked about how in my journey, dating other people, when you say, hey, this is the walk that I'm on, this is the path I have to be on. Just letting you know up front, there are plenty of people that will be like, you're 30 years old, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not hearing me. I am 30 years old and I am doing what I want. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you that this is what I want. So
Exactly.
if you can't live up to that, then I guess we'll have to part ways. Joe took the challenge as any right man would.
Yeah, as far as one of those moments, Maggie telling me no, that was a big one. And yeah, absolutely. Maggie helped me realize that was the right way to live and the right thing to do. And we did take that challenge very, very seriously.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's definitely challenges, and you're human. You have weaknesses. You have to learn what situations you shouldn't put yourself in. But I think we got our butt kicked by Father Dennis or Father Trevor one day in confession.
Trenton, yeah.
Father Trenton, and we were like, ooh, yeah, okay, back on the right road. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Wow. So as a newly married couple, what has been like one of the highlights that maybe is different from dating, but what's also been one of the challenges that has maybe been different from dating?
I have realized I need to pray more and more often. And one of the prayers that I have a lot more recently is, Lord, help me to submit to my husband. I think especially when you've been on your own for a long time, and I'm a pretty independent person, so realizing in certain moments when I really need to allow myself to let him lead and defer to his judgment. There have been a number of times where in the moment I don't understand something, and you can kind of be like, oh, like, why are we doing this, or I'm feeling some way about this or that. But when I just let myself sit in that and just like trust it, eventually it leads to some amazing outcome, and I'm like, this is what he was like planning. Like I didn't see it in the moment. So that's something that I'm learning to do.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It was great hearing that.
Good. You're probably like, yeah, I wish.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Uh-huh.
I didn't mean it like that, but no, that was really beautiful to hear. And I don't know that, there's a lot different from when we were dating. We're just together all the time now, and we live together. And I really feel like we've been married and have been together our entire lives. I don't remember what life was like.
It is weird.
Before
it's
you.
like BC. It's like
Wow.
you're just like, wow, this is where the adventure like really begins, because who knows what's to come.
And we have challenges in our marriage, just like I'm sure everybody does. But at the end of the day, we realize all of them are small, and nothing is insurmountable. And we're definitely finding how to compromise together, but it's never really like a compromise of sacrifice, because if we're doing something for the other person, that's something that makes us happy. Makes us happy, and it makes us feel good to be doing that. And very often, one of us will say, hey, we got to go do this. Oh, I had this other thing I wanted to do, but cool, we'll scrap that, and we'll do the thing you wanted to do.
Well, I'd say especially finding someone in your later, years is, you both just have a life that you've built, and just bringing those lives together like calendars. Who knew that calendars would be? It's really just learning how to communicate well, because there's things that come up all the time. Oh, I forgot to mention this. I forgot to mention that. Well, as long as you communicate about it, it's no big deal. And it's like, all right, well, I'll see you at home later. Like, no big deal.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, finding somebody that's going to complement your life is so important. And I think that's why the two of us coming together and living a life together now as a married couple has just been so seamless, because there's no argument about what we're doing on Sunday. We're going to Mass.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll rearrange which Mass we're going to, or where we're going to Mass, depending on what things might be happening. But we're going to be at Mass on Sunday. We go to bed at the same time together every night, and we pray before we go to bed. Like, that's a non-negotiable. We wake up at the same time together every day. Of course, we're saying that now. That's what's that's what we're doing 4 months in. I'm sure as life gets more complicated, and hopefully kids come into the picture in the future, things might change a little bit. But
it sounds like you're rooting yourselves together in communication with yourself, between each other and with God.
Yes.
And faith is number one. Faith is number one, and in really making faith number one and seeing how our relationship has evolved with that being the case, I now realize why it's as important as it is. And I now realize why so many other relationships that don't have that have the issues that they have.
Yeah. So just to wrap us up, what one tip would you give to either people, so you can choose, or maybe one of each, of like, if someone is still single and looking, or if there's a couple together, whether or not, if they're discerning marriage right now? Like what is like that one tip for like the single person, and that one tip for that couple?
I spoke to a group of men yesterday, and as far as the ones that were there that were single, I told them, you have to think about what sacrifices you're willing to make to achieve the things that you want and truly desire. And I said, for those of you that truly do want to get married and find the right woman, that's going to be your wife and the mother of your children. You need to make sacrifices real sacrifices in order to make that happen. And you need to set your heart and your mind on that being the truth, that you really do want to be a father, want to be a husband, and you want a family. And once you set your mind and your heart on that, and you start making those sacrifices that are going to make that happen, it's going to follow no matter what.
Yeah, I think God knows what's in your heart. If you're filling your life still with all kinds of frivolous things, He's not going to bring you that godly spouse, or maybe He does, but you're not ready for it. So if you want a godly spouse, you have to become that godly person that will attract that godly spouse. I would say for young couples trying to discern, I honestly, the only thing this sounds really simple, is take walks and say prayers. Do the simple free things in life. Have a good method of like blowing off steam and communicating. We love taking walks together. I think it's because we walked on the pilgrimage, like getting to know each other, but that's like our go-to, especially if either of us are like feeling kind of funky, after a long day or something. It's like, let's go take a walk. And you walk, you talk about your day, and by the time you come home, everything's good. So, I don't know, pray, take walks.
That's beautiful. Well, thank you both for coming on and sharing your stories and your love, which is very palpable and beautiful to see.
Thank
So
you.
thank you so much. So thank you, everybody. Like, subscribe, be our friends. Who knows? Bye.
Bye.